So I would like to say a couple of things about the more technical stuff that is in the petition that we just delivered at the director of DEM, Janet Coyte's office. Basically, the story is simple. DEM issues pollution permits, and it does so incrementally, one after the other, one after the other. From my perspective, it started with the AIM project maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but of course there's a much longer history. But I've been involved with the AIM project, which was an attempt to expand, or it was actually it was a project to expand the compressor station in Burrillville. That has happened. You bring more gas to Rhode Island. Guess what? Before you know it, there is an Invenergy company that wants to build a fracked gas fueled power plant, and there is National Grid. This is Invenergy, of course. In the National Grid wants to expand their liquid gas facility in Providence, in the Providence Harbor, right next door to Jeremy, Victoria, and the whole neighborhood there. This is a violation, as a matter of fact, as we think, of Rhode Island law. And this is a literal quote. DEM is responsible for, this is the quote, cumulative effects on the environment. In other words, you cannot just say a little bit here, a little bit there, and none of that does anything. You have to look at the sum total of everything you're doing, and they're not. So, as a matter of fact, the Rhode Island Constitution says in, what is it, Article 1, Section 17, if you want to know it exactly, that there is a responsibility, a duty to protect land, air, and water. And it's not being done. So this is basically part of the legal background of the petition.
I get that you guys have your concerns about what's going on, but you can't be inside the building.
We're almost done.
This is a government building.
Okay, that's great, but you need to be on the street.
We're
This is a
on
government
the street.
This is a government office.
Okay, you're not in the office, you're inside of a building.
I guess we should go into the office.
Yep, we could do that.
You
Can we
want us
just
to
finish
move?
the statement and then we'll go?
Yeah, we're
I
almost
don't want to
done.
be on camera, don't do that.
If we have less than 2 minutes, can we just go?
We'll
with,
be out of your hair.
That's the man you need to speak to.
Well, we spoke to
Okay, that's
him, we
fine.
asked him for
Finish up
2
and go.
We said
Yeah.
we're finishing.
Okay.
Finish up and go.
Well, so we are asking DEM to put in place, use their statutory authority, a rule that tells Rhode Island government what it needs to do to protect Rhode Island and to protect the globe. And it means that Rhode Island should not exceed its share of the total amount of greenhouse gases that we can put into the atmosphere. There's only a certain amount we can put in there. You go beyond that and you have climate chaos. We're pretty close to that. So in order to do that, we have to reduce greenhouse gases according to a fixed scheme so that we don't overspend our budget. So the state is responsible for tracking that and making sure that the accounting is done correctly. And in order to do so, we have to also make sure that we don't export our emissions to China, for instance, as has been happening. The fact that cars are made in China or in Korea or what have you, if they are transporting those cars and creating emissions on the way and creating emissions when they produce the cars, nothing is really gained because we're on a globe, we're not on an island, even though it may be called Rhode Island. So we have to make sure that the state accounts for what is called embodied emissions, namely, what did it take to get this stuff here? What did it take to make this stuff? You have to count that. So that's what we're asking. We're also asking that the state start counting methane correctly. What they're doing currently is they're basically kicking the can down the road and amortizing our future almost literally by saying, we're not taking into account what happens now, but we're going to spread that out over the next 100 years. That is, and I'm speaking as a physicist here, that is bad physics. Stuff is happening right now, right here, in the Arctic or in smaller places such as Fields Point. You can't do that. So all of that has to be taken into account.
Okay, can we wrap up now?
It's one more point. So,
You just
when-
said one more point like 3 times.
no, there's...
No, that's it.
When
I'm
best
not trying to
science
be
does not
rude.
answer all the
I'm not
questions,
trying to be rude.
the state must
You guys are
respect
being
the
rude.
precautionary
I don't
principle.
wanna talk.
Rather
I
safe
really
than
don't.
sorry. The state must also respect environmental justice. Thank you, we're done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there are any questions...
Somebody's phone's here, don't forget it.
You guys gotta go, go ahead. You
Just
have
as a side
questions
note,
out
this is
there.
the problem with
You gotta-
privatizing the commons.
Right.
Where a private
Exactly.
corporation can kick you out when you're trying to petition the government.
Right, the
But
government,
this
our own
Exactly the
government.
problem.
This is,
People can pass
I
it.
understand, I understand.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't know if you do, because this is exactly the problem.